Hello, Jillian from Greenland Garden Centre. Happy to be on another garden tour. I'm here with Darren and Daniel and Jade, and we're going to take a tour around their beautiful property and grab some inspiration and just have a lovely time. So the first thing when you come into this yard, you're met with this really wonderful waterfall and pond area. So you've found a lot of objects here whilst digging and moving and...
Yeah, there was an old stone pit in the back that was buried underneath debris and grass and stuff. So he has hauled a lot of the larger feature rocks came from there.
Yeah. I feel like a geologist would have a heyday. That one in particular is something quite incredible. And so you built all of this from the ground up. You had mentioned before that this was mainly a vegetable garden?
Yeah, it was, it used to be a big long row of raspberries from one end to the other, old clothesline, and then just vegetable garden, potatoes, and you name it. But built the gazebo and then started building the pond immediately after that. So.
Yeah. Oh, and it's just filled. So we've got lots of the, the thyme and the lamiums and things. Those are really beautiful and they feed the bees. And you also have some hives.
Yeah, I have 3 hives out behind the garage. So we collect our own honey. They're great for pollinating everything. And then we harvest the honey in the fall and make more mead out of it than anything. But
I'm all right with that. I like honey in the morning. I like a nice little drink of mead a little bit later on in the evening. So just moving, I think we got about 3 steps further before something else caught my eye. And I really do want to talk about this gazebo. So I was questioning, I was like, is this Asian inspired or sort of what's your aesthetic on things? Do you want to just tell me how this came about?
Yeah, so it was just flipping through magazines online, finding different aspects of different gazebos that I saw in different pictures and just kind of combining them. So it was stick built.
Yeah.
It was also a great excuse to buy tools.
Yeah.
So all the millwork, all the window frames, it was all routed and put together. The glass was just old salvage glass that I cut to fit in the frames.
Yeah.
And my favorite part about it is like the small little windows. That was the one design aspect that I liked, was these small little windows.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that'll be a good project. I can learn how to stain glass, because I thought that would look really cool if it was stained glass.
You learned how to stain glass?
No, but everybody thinks it's stained glass until I walked into one of the big box store hardware stores and they've got this plastic film that's made to go over screen windows.
Yeah.
And so it's just plastic film, cut it into little sheets, and it's been up there. It's held for going on over 10 years now. And so it does look like stained glass.
Yeah, a nice little trick of the eye.
Yeah.
And I also, another little trick I like, it seems as though I'm gonna just call it a little house here, is floating, right? Like it looks like it's floating in amongst a pond, which I really love. But this is on ground.
Yeah, it's on piles and
And then this is all surrounding.
Yeah, so the gazebo was the first thing I built, and then after I built the gazebo, that's where I thought, oh, you know what, a pond would be beautiful, and that's why I've got the waterfall over there with the little creek with a little footbridge over the creek, and Yeah,
and I love the plantings. Like I like how just very naturalized they all seem. Ostrich ferns, like they're just gorgeous and they come back all the time. This is the big Virginia or the elephant ear.
Yeah.
Like that's just gorgeous. That leaf is perfect. Obviously it's not met a slug because mine have been chewed already.
Oh, okay. No, they've been doing so well, and there was one little planting. So a lot of these plants, all the hostas, a lot of them were on the property when I moved in, and I've split and transplanted, and like all these hostas. Yeah. Actually, the moles gave me the gophers gave me a really hand with the hostas. They had a really bad mole problem, and they would come underneath and they would eat the roots, and then they would drop them in their little burrows, and all of a sudden I had like hostas popping up everywhere. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's continue. Let's take this little tour even further around the pond then. 2 more steps. We have more to look at, believe it or not. Of course, I believe it. So you were explaining you have a new addition over there?
Yeah, I've been looking and wanting a large gargoyle statue for a long time. We finally bought one this spring at Greenland and just love the way it's just kind of tucked back there and the foliage is kind of growing in the, you don't really see him until you walk around the corner and he just kind of pops out.
Yeah.
And then at night, the yard takes on a totally different atmosphere because there's so many solar lights everywhere.
Wonderful.
The neighbors love it. Like they comment on it all the time, how they can see all the.
You guys would come
all the
across
solar
as like the
lights.
little fireflies out here in the country from a distance. And I've noticed, and there's just all these really interesting little relics and finds that you've put and dotted throughout the yard too. So I imagine
Daniel is great at that. He has such an eye for decorating. Like all the logs and stuff are just deadfall that he found in the back. He's been collecting driftwood. We were out camping last weekend. We found some really magnificent large pieces of driftwood that he's got petrified wood that he's got tucked around all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, I find it quite interesting, some of the personalities that you meet when you get to tour all these gardens, how they are inspired by so many things. A lot of it in tune with nature, but just, we're kind of like a bunch of magpies where something catches our eye and we're like, ooh, I think I'm gonna pick that up and put it somewhere. It's really, really neat. You created quite the beautiful little nest here. So let's take 2 more steps and see what we find, shall we? So we've rounded the bend, and before we talk even more about what's going on in the rest of the yard, I did notice the Evans cherry, and we were swapping recipes because I love Evans cherry juice. I do put it as a little bit of a splash in a lot of my gin and tonics or whatever. It's delicious. And you do something other.
Yeah, I like to marinate them in either bourbon or amaretto when they're a great topping for my my Manhattans. So.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a cinnamon taste to them when they're marinated.
Yeah.
They're a beautiful thing. A lot of people get a lot of use out of this little tart cherry.
Either that or.
But they start calling them tart cherries after a couple Manhattans.
Yeah. And my favorite is making sour cherry crisps out of them and throwing them in. When I have company over and we fire up the pizza oven, I'd like to. It's a nice, easy dessert that works really well in the pizza oven. So
we definitely have to see that pizza oven. It is miraculous, and the sedum roof on it is incredible. It's just a really beautiful piece of architecture that you guys have made from scratch. It's outstanding. So we'll have to go check that out in a little bit. But first, let's go this way. There is so much more I'd like to see. So here we are. You have lots of planter baskets because there's a lot of edibles in this jar too. We've tasted some of those really beautiful strawberries that are kind of a yellow cream color, and they were delicious, a small delicious little berry. And over here, I think you've mainly got herbs.
yeah, herbs and a couple of some zinnias that we started. Some other gladiolas hiding back here that'll pop up.
Yeah, and the solidago. Did you plant this or did it come in naturally? Do you know? Because this is a natural wildflower too, so this is great for the bumblebees as well.
So that I'm not 100%. We lose track of some of the stuff that we plant, and that might very well have just been voluntary.
Yeah.
Anything that has flowers on, I pretty much leave because.
Yeah. Well, and it becomes a bouquet when you naturalize. Like we've got mint mixed in with a hydrangea, mixed in with some solidago. Now, this is almost like a floral delight, and you would never think of combining it as a florist until you see it done by nature. That's quite incredible, actually. And this lovely Veronica, I think I've seen them about this tall, and it's just huge. It's doing so well. It might have something to do with the chicken poop, I think.
That, or it's been there. We've had it there for going on 5 years, so it's good and hardy and keeps coming back. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm really, really curious also about this geodome, and I want to hear the story about that as well, because I know you're doing some experimenting with construction and figuring out this shape.
Yeah, so it was I wanted my own greenhouse. I've got big, grandiose ideas of what I want to do for a greenhouse, but always been intrigued by the geodesic dome. So again, went online, found a geodesic dome calculator, did some research, figured out how to build it. So this was supposed to be just a temporary one I built with plastic PVC hubs to hold it together.
Yeah.
And I want to build a more permanent one that's actually with proper mitered joints and framed together. So.
Because things are doing extremely well in that greenhouse.
Yeah, the peppers and eggplants. Last year we had tomatoes in there, but after carting out wheelbarrows full of tomatoes, we said, okay, we're just putting peppers and eggplants in there. And threw in some portulaca and some other flowers in there just to spruce it up a bit.
Yeah. So again, while you're feeding the goats, this building is really, really incredible. And this is the goat barn, and it's got some history. You designed this to represent your grandfather's general store?
Yep, my grandfather had a general store in northern Saskatchewan, and I built it to fashion it after that. So it's a little scaled down replica with a little faux window with some old antiques. Pop bottles, medicine jars and stuff. Just
yeah, and you're an electrician, so does this light up? Is there electricity here too?
So I have solar panels on the roof and a little inverter that runs lights, and then there's lights in there that turn on.
How incredible. This is fantastic. So are the leashes for the goats, or are these just here as decor?
Yeah, they're for the goats, so I need to be able to handle them when I'm milking them.
Oh, right.
Because if I don't have them on a leash when I bring them out here, the first place to head for is the roses. Otherwise, they'll be in the garden. So.
Right. And so you guys make your own goat cheese as well?
Yeah, goat
correct?
cheese, ice cream. I haven't made any any soap or anything, but primarily traditional Portuguese fresh cheese. Or I've made brie, cheddar, Swiss, all sorts of cheese,
Lovely. That's lovely. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. Your place is so inspirational. I'd love to see more. When the cameras go off, I am going to go tour and see what else there is to discover. It's just absolutely incredible.
No, it was great having you out here.
Thank you.
We do a lot of work with all the plants and stuff, and it's so nice to be able to have somebody come out and see it and appreciate it. So thank you.
And I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Okay, our pleasure.
Okay, thank you guys so much.